Hello, everybody. I'm Nicholas Snow, and this is a special edition of Life Positive on PromoHomo.TV. Life Positive spotlights people living with, impacted by, or working to bring about the end of HIV and AIDS. And we're going to talk in this episode also about broader issues as they relate to sexual health. I have been living with HIV for about 15 years, living powerfully and living with a high level of health. And the HIV/AIDS epidemic has definitely changed. And that's another theme of today's episode. We're going to talk about how to prevent HIV and also other exciting advances coming up in today's episode of Life Positive. So I mentioned that I've been living powerfully with HIV for around 15 years. I've been on medication for about 12 years. Even then, that medication rendered me what is called undetectable. And what we know now about what that means is that someone that's living with HIV who's successfully treated by antiretroviral medication has an undetectable viral load, and therefore it is scientifically impossible for them, or for me for that matter, to transmit HIV to my sexual partners. So that's one aspect of bringing about the end of the HIV and AIDS epidemic, figuring out a way scientifically where people living with HIV don't transmit the virus. Another important revelation, development, result of decades of hard work and science are ways for people who are HIV negative to stay that way. And on this special World AIDS Day episode of Life Positive, I'll be welcoming to the show Mark DeJarnett and Andrew Glorioso from DAP Health's Department of Community Health and Sexual Wellness. And we're going to be talking about PrEP and PEP and the excitement of these tools, and frankly, how easy it is for you to access services like these in your community. Now, if you're watching from the greater Palm Springs area, you're in luck because you have access to the services of DAP Health. And I'm actually broadcasting from the affordable housing complex at DAP Health because for over 10 of the 15 years I've been living with HIV, I've been living here. Palm Springs has a large population of people living with HIV because of frankly, the existence of DAP Health. A lot of people moved to the greater Coachella Valley because of the stellar services. But a lot of people moved here because it's a very welcoming, relatively speaking, community for members of the LGBTQIA plus community. And here's something that's very important happening in our community related to HIV and AIDS that I want you all to know about before I bring on my special guest today.
In the 1980s, I created a file labeled Grief with photos, mementos, obituaries of my friends who died from AIDS, where I would not lose them. That is what we did before the quilt and memorials. Today our goal is to create an iconic and inspiring AIDS memorial sculpture designed pro bono by Philip K. Smith III as a gift to the city of Palm Springs to be permanently placed in the downtown park that will become the portal to our collective memories. Adjacent sign will access the stories of loved ones, recognize donors, access health and educational information, and link to the National AIDS Memorial and AIDS Memorial Quilt. Time has been given to us, so we ask for your help in bringing this sculpture to fruition to ensure that their lives are never forgotten and their memories celebrated. Please give generously.
I think a key goal of the Palm Springs AIDS Memorial is celebration. There will always be a sad side of the HIV/AIDS epidemic, a tragic side, but there are lots of things to celebrate. And I'm going to bring my guest on in just a moment, but I just want to say that this show is empowered by people who voluntarily subscribe to the free content. If you want to know more about that, there's a special message on the screen below. So without further delay, I want to bring on my very special guest today from DAP Health, Mark DeJarnett and Andy Glorioso. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hi.
Well, I have the advantage of being colleagues of yours in our community in the fight against HIV and AIDS. We've all been at it for quite a while, and I'd love to know, starting with you, Mark, what are your personal early memories of the HIV/AIDS epidemic, and how did it, for example, change your path in life?
Well, certainly I was around in the late 70s and 80s, and I was even initially part of the San Diego AIDS Project. I don't know, I can't remember what it was called at that point in time, where we were doing some of the counseling. I've lost some friends. I lost a partner in the 90s. I was diagnosed in the early 90s and have been HIV positive since 92, 93.
Were you diagnosed before the breakthrough in medication, the antiretrovirals?
Yeah, I started out on AZT.
So
I've been on just about all of them. So AZT was AZT and DDI, I think, were my original medications back in the day.
But you were diagnosed at a time when HIV was thought of still very much as a death sentence. People
Correct.
didn't, right. So, there's a different level of trauma I think that you experienced rather than me. I became positive in 2007, so I never became HIV positive at a time when it was a death sentence. I always had hope. So I just want to acknowledge that part of your journey and how tough that must have been for you.
Yeah, I think the dating part was the hardest. Having to tell someone, it's not a problem for me now. It's really easy. It's part of who I am. It's no big deal. But in the 80s or in the 90s and maybe the early 2000s, it was challenging. It was definitely challenging. But now it's just no big deal. I take my pill every day. I'm healthy. I've been undetectable for years. I'm probably healthier now at 65 than I was at 40. So, life is good.
Well, and I can see that, and thank you for all you do. What about you, Andy? What are your early memories and experiences of the HIV/AIDS pandemic?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And Mark, might I say, 65 looks wonderful on you, sir. You are looking good.
Thank you. I'll pay you later.
You're an inspiration for us all, Mark.
Thank you.
I was diagnosed in 1987. I was 21 years old at the time, and if you can imagine, it was at the height of when we were just learning about HIV. AZT had just become available, and I was able to access that through a clinical trial at the Cleveland Clinic. It was a much different time, and definitely very dark days compared to where we are now. Obviously, I never expected to see the age of 30. Reaching 30 was a major milestone. It was I never thought I would make it. I got my diagnosis in 1987 diagnosis, and the first question I asked my clinician was, how long do I have to live? And the doctor said, well, from what I can tell where your labs are right now, he said, you'll probably have 5 years. 3 years will probably be okay, and the last 2 years are won't be. So imagine being 21 years old and getting that diagnosis in a climate where it was almost impossible to talk to other people about it. I kept my diagnosis private. I only told one person in my family. It was definitely a different time. And World AIDS Day is always kind of like one of those things. Do you say Happy World AIDS Day? Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's a multifaceted day. It's an opportunity to celebrate where we're going. It's an opportunity to reflect back on where we've been. I don't think that we can continue making positive forward progress unless we continue to acknowledge where we came from. So this day is very important.
Well, and that's why I wanted to start our conversation with our personal history. I wasn't expecting either one of you to disclose your HIV status. I was unaware of it myself, but I appreciate that you did that, because I think that the more of us that tell our stories about living powerfully with HIV, the more that we fight stigma. Now let's fast forward to the very good news of today, because first of all, a lot more people are aware of HIV, and the prevention of HIV is the prevention tools are as effective as they've ever been, and the ease of accessing them for many. I mean, granted, this is a global issue, and there are still major parts of the world that don't have the privileges and the benefits that we experience here in the United States, and in particularly in the Coachella Valley. But Andy, why don't you talk a little bit about PEP and PrEP, and also the HIV testing that is offered by DAP Health?
Sure. For anybody who's watching who's unfamiliar with the terms PEP or PrEP, PEP stands for post-exposure prophylaxis, and it is a course of medication that we can give to someone who's potentially been exposed to HIV. Within 72 hours of that potential exposure, we can get them on a course of medication for 30 days, which will prevent them from acquiring HIV infection. And then PrEP is pre-exposure prophylaxis. So that is a regimen of medication, one pill once a day, which people can take to prevent HIV infection. The easiest way for me to frame the conversation is in terms of sort of the birth control paradigm. The post-exposure prophylaxis is like the morning after pill, and PrEP is kind of like a birth control pill. So one pill once a day to prevent the unwanted outcome of acquiring HIV infection. We know if taken as prescribed, one pill once a day, PrEP's been shown to be 99.9% effective in preventing HIV infection. It's been a real tangible game changer in terms of HIV prevention. And we provide all of those services through the Orange Clinic, our sexual health clinic here at DAP Health. We provide both PEP and PrEP services at no cost, as well as comprehensive STI testing at no cost to the public.
That's amazing. And congratulations on all the hard work that you do. Mark, why don't you speak more broadly about the services of the Orange Clinic at DAP Health, and also You've opened a sister clinic or a brother clinic. I don't know if you use a gender term in India. There's another. Let's go with another. There's another clinic in India that you've opened as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure what pronoun we want to use, but yeah. So, well, first off, I kind of stumbled into DAP as a nurse. I never thought I would be taking care of my community, and then to be in a position where I'm actually providing service to help out my community was kind of, I guess it was meant to be. So the sexual wellness clinics, we have the Orange Clinic here in Palm Springs, and our new clinic in Indio, which we opened in July. So both of our clinics provide free service. Any STI service that is performed in the clinic, including treatment, is completely free of charge. So we don't charge based on how much income you make or whether you have insurance or not. It doesn't matter. Everyone gets treated the same way. So we do testing for syphilis, gonorrhea, chlamydia, HIV, and then we provide treatment for any patients who have positive results. And then we also, and this is kind of the great thing that we do, is we have what's called a Rapid Start program. And for HIV patients, many of them, well, many of us have struggled throughout the years. You have job changes, you lose insurance, where do you go to get care? You fall out of care. So our Rapid Start program brings these people back into care. And again, it's free. So these are HIV people, HIV positive individuals who, for whatever reason, have fallen out of care, whether it's a lost job, a lost insurance, they're homeless, whatever the case may be. We bring them back in. We get all their lab work done to see where they are. We get them back on medication, and we get them set up with a primary care provider over in our health center.
And that happens, by the way, in like 24 hours or something.
Yeah, we as soon as, especially with our newly diagnosed patients, we work really hard here in sexual wellness to get them in within 5 days of us learning of their positive diagnosis. Same thing though for someone who's out of care. They've been out of care for 6 months, 8 months, a year. We want to get them back into care as soon as possible. So, that may be a small part of what we do, but it's a big part of what we do. PrEP is probably our biggest, as far as like patient flow, that's where most of it is. And then the STIs, and then our rapid starts. We probably see anywhere from 2 to 4 rapid starts a day. So we're pretty busy, with STIs, PrEP, and with our rapid starts.
That's amazing. Just a reminder for the viewers, the Orange Clinic keeps busy dispensing PrEP to individuals, and these are HIV negative individuals who, through a self-assessment of their own sexual behavior, have determined it's beneficial to them to be on this regime that prevents them from getting HIV. Well, imagine the freedom that comes from that. And Andy, now you have injectable PrEP. And that's why, even though PrEP is often referred to as 1 pill a day, there's another delivery method.
Right. I'm so used to saying 1 pill once a day that I, including injectable PrEP in my lexicon of PrEP language, I have to keep reminding myself we do have an injectable now, right? The injectable PrEP involves somebody coming into clinic once every 2 months for an injection, as opposed to taking a daily oral medication. Also, an equally effective tool at preventing HIV. The information, one of the biggest points, though, that I'd like the viewers to understand is we have all of these options for PrEP. Our services that are provided through the Orange Clinic are provided at no cost, but we still sometimes have issues and barriers regarding coverage for the medication itself. So while we provide the healthcare services at no cost, we're still dependent on outside sources for paying for medication. And that's a great vast majority of what myself and my team does with PrEP navigation, is trying to get people enrolled in programs to mitigate the costs for PrEP. So while we have all of these options for PrEP, sometimes access to those options is also dependent on the type of healthcare coverage that people have. And that's what the work of PrEP navigators is, to help people assess what they have for benefits and then find out what PrEP options can we get for them based on the type of healthcare coverage that they have. 99.9% of the time, we will find a low cost method for people to get PrEP, but it's not always going to be the exact method that they wanted. We do still have confines of pharmacy coverage that we have to deal with. I just never want people to have unfulfilled expectations. There's injectable PrEP, absolutely. It's effective, it's great, it's a great tool. Not everybody's going to be able to access that based on their healthcare coverage.
Well, that is a good point. Is there anything you'd like to add to that topic, Mark?
No, the injectable PrEP is, from a standpoint of those who don't want to take a pill every day or have issues taking a pill every day, and it's hard to be compliant with taking the pill every day for whatever reason. The injectable PrEP is a great alternative. It's one shot every 2 months. Initially, it's you come in 1 month, you get the shot. 30 days later, you come and get the second shot, and then from then on, it's every 2 months. So instead of taking a pill every day, every 2 months, you come into the clinic. So it is. It's extremely effective. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to try and sell, what the pharmaceutical company says about it, but it's extremely effective. And I would have no problem telling a friend of mine to go ahead and switch to injectable PrEP. But there are some downsides. One is the insurance it can be an issue. Yep. If you want to get it through the sexual wellness clinics here at DAP, it's going to be a little bit more challenging if you have private insurance. But Andy and his team can navigate everyone through that. The other side is, it's an injection, and it's, some people don't like shots, and it's not the most comfortable. So it's a trade-off. It's like, do I want to take a pill every day, or do I want to get, a needle jabbed in my my butt every 2 months? I mean,
yeah,
some guys might like that, but there's some trade-offs.
Right.
So that's the thing about PrEP. We now have these different choices, and people, it makes it easier for people who a pill was never an option for them. Maybe they have issues swallowing pills, or again, it's not convenient for them. Right. So the more options we have to protect people from getting HIV, the better it is. It's been a learning experience for Andy and for I with injectable PrEP, but we're at a point now where we're starting to see more patients for injectable PrEP. So it's kind of an exciting time, I think, for both of us, because we have something new to offer to our community to safeguard them.
That's fantastic. This is live, so I have one viewer who says, thank you. He's basically thanking us in Spanish and saying hello. And Lance is one of my patrons of the show. He's given me permission to share this, but he's a client of DAP, and he is what is known as a non-progressor elite controller. Mm-hmm. So he's never been on medications since, and he's been positive since 1996. What is a non-progressor elite controller? Are either one of you qualified to talk about that?
I mean, I mean, I'm not a clinician.
Right.
I'm a health educator, but yes, there is a small segment of the population that's called long-term non-progressors. They are individuals who are HIV positive, but their immune system is able to keep HIV at bay. So they don't. The normal progression of somebody becoming infected with HIV is that over time their immune system becomes run down and decimated, which opens them up to opportunistic infections. For long-term non-progressors, they're HIV positive, but for whatever reason, their body is able to keep HIV at bay. A lot of research done on these folks because we hope at some point in time they may yield additional treatments for HIV. But it looks like a lot of these folks have a genetic mutation with their T cells that their T cell is missing one of the receptors that HIV uses to bind with the cell and enter the cell, and they lack that particular receptor. And so their body is able to naturally control HIV without the use of medication. It's a very, very small group of individuals, but I would just say, lucky for you that and congratulations that you're in that group that's able to control HIV without the use of medication. That's not the same experience for the vast majority of people living with HIV. Do need antiretrovirals in order to keep HIV suppressed.
Well, thank you for elaborating on that. I just would love our viewers to know how easy it is for them to access the sexual health and wellness services at DAP Health. When you go to daphealth.org, there is a sexual health button prominent at the top of the page. It's also prominent when you go to it on your mobile device, and then you click on it, and there you can find information about free STI testing and treatment, free PrEP and PEP services, and remember, that's to make sure that you qualify for PrEP and that you can be on it. There's an insurance challenge to getting you on it, but they can at least help you navigate that, perhaps. And then you all did a fantastic job responding to monkeypox, and you're still engaged in offering that information. Free HIV testing. What I think is fascinating about your free HIV testing is that people can walk in and pick up an HIV testing kit to take home, or that you can mail it to them, and also free hepatitis C screening. So that's the overview of the sexual health and wellness services. Starting with you, Mark, and then you, Andy, is there anything else you'd like to add that we haven't talked about in today's program?
For me, just for anyone that's in the Coachella Valley or close enough where they can have access to DAP, it's just important that they understand that this is a safe space. We're non-judgmental, and we're sex positive. It's like we want our patients, our clients, to be open and honest and feel comfortable. When they're here, whether they're here as a client or they're here as a patient, they're talking to a clinician or a nurse. We really try hard to make sure that they feel comfortable with us. We're definitely not a stuffy group. It is a fun place to work. DAP Health in general, and I love the people I work with, which is amazing. But and I think that flows down to how we treat our clients and how we treat our patients. So it is a safe space, and we want everyone to feel comfortable coming here. We'd rather they come here and get taken care of than be ashamed and not get the care that they need.
Yeah,
And Andy,
absolutely.
what would you like to add?
I will just echo everything that Mark said about our clinic being sex positive and a safe place for people to come to receive sexual health services. I want to thank you, Nicholas, for this conversation and for what you do. Any time that we are normalizing conversations around sexual health and helping people understand that sexual health services are just as vital and important as any other health services that we may seek. And the more we do to normalize conversations around sexual health and regular STI screening, especially here in the Coachella Valley, where we have a very high population of men who have sex with men and we have high rates of STIs, regular STI screening is very important in our community. So the more we can do to encourage people that it's normal, it's just a part of life. If you're sexually active, you should be, I hate that word, that we encourage you to get regular STI screening.
Well, I'm very happy with our conversation today. I think we covered lots of important issues, and what a way to celebrate the advances on World AIDS Day as we remember the paths that got us here. It's a bittersweet experience, but we only have one life to live, and we want to stay as alive and as healthy for as long as possible.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you both. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Nicholas.
And I'm gonna let you go back to work now.
Do we have to?
No, you can tell. You can tell. I guess in your case it would be CJ Toby.
CJ.
Tell CJ that I gave you the day off.
Thank you, Nicholas. We'll tell him immediately.
All right. You guys have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Bye. So I'm very grateful that I was able to have that conversation here on World AIDS Day. And Lance says, another great show. Thank you to you and your guests. And I'm going to reach over here out of shot for a second. So I don't really promote this book aggressively, but this is my book, Life Positive, A Journey to the Center of My Heart. It's a Living Powerfully with HIV memoir. It takes place primarily in Thailand, where I was living at the time that I wrote the book. And actually, the story ends. And almost the last page of the book was written in April of 2012. So really, the 10-year anniversary of this book, I guess, is coming up soon. But I wrote, "It was my goal, my hope, to move into the Vista Sunrise apartments by April 25th, 2012, my birthday. And being all about creative visualization, I had visited the property on numerous occasions and had a very clear idea of where I wanted to be on the property. On the second floor of a building with a spectacular expansive view of the gorgeous mountains rising majestically from the desert floor." And I don't live in that precise apartment. That was a studio apartment. And then after being on a waiting list, I now live in a one-bedroom apartment. And I'm in my bedroom right now. So thank you for joining me on my bedroom. There is one of the things I wanted to comment. It's a lot less scary to live with HIV today. There's no reason for it to be scary at all because of the amazing treatments. But the stigma is alive and well. So as a single gay man, I find that I'm still consistently dismissed because of my HIV status. And there's a lot of people out there in the gay dating pool that don't understand the science of U equals U, undetectable equals untransmittable. So there's still a long way to go, but we've come a long way, and I'm just very excited about that. And I'm grateful that you've chosen to watch this episode, and I look forward to you tuning in to future episodes, because The pipeline of PromoHomo.TV is open and serving up regular broadcasts. And with that, check out my new closing credit sequence.